Welcome, everyone. My name is Jonathan Gill. I'm the head of business development. I'll be your host and your guide through all the inside look here at Aisera. So joining me today is Clark. He's going to be your main resource for all things platform, capabilities, and Joanna, support with engagement. So to set the stage for today's webinar and this webinar series, we're going to be covering a high-level overview of Aisera and four sub-concepts. A lot of these sub-concepts will first start in IT, the automated app access. We'll move over to HR. We'll work on PTO requests and fulfillment. We'll then go to analytics. That'll be actionable insights with optimization. And we'll finally end with a Q&A. I want to say, please join throughout our session. Drop notes in the chat. We absolutely love collaboration. So Joanna will be my partner, and she'll be continuing to monitor a lot of these and facilitate these questions in real time. And we're excited to have everyone here. Let's get started, Clark.
So welcome, everybody. I'm Clark Bradley. I'm a senior solutions engineer here at Aisera, based in Tennessee. So I work around the East Coast. And I've been with the company for a little while, but I've seen some amazing things. And so we're happy to bring that to you today to learn, more about, interactively what you're looking for, but also to give you kind of a taste of what the Aisera platform can do. So from a high overview, the Aisera platform delivers intelligent automation through really two powerful offerings, AI Copilot and Agent Assist. These are designed to transform both the user and the agent experience. AI Copilot is the user-facing powerhouse engaging through chat, email, or voice to autonomously resolve issues, deliver guidance, and even act proactively if you need it to take, for instance, events that happen in your environment and be able to reach users or groups directly. It reduces support load by enabling true self-service across channels like Slack, Team, and more. Agent Assist, on the other hand, is built for your support teams, so providing a real-time recommendations, automating routine tasks, and integrating directly with tools like Salesforce, ServiceNow, and Zendesk. Together, both these offerings drive faster resolution, higher satisfaction, and really smarter operations across the enterprise. If I dive down a little bit, Aisera's power lies in its unmatched ecosystem of over 500 integrations. These connect seamlessly with different tools and platforms that enterprises already use today or are looking to expand into the future. The vast connectivity fuels our agentic architecture, where intelligent AI agents don't just respond, but they act. They learn, they reason, and proactively automate tasks across your enterprise. So no matter whether it's IT or HR or customer service or finance or whatever domain that you're interested in, Aisera delivers conversational and proactive automation at scale, reducing response times, boosting productivity, transforming user experiences from reactive to predictive. And this is really how enterprises go from siloed and kind of static to intelligent and connected service delivery. Finally, I want to point out Aisera's universal agent, which we're going to see some of today, is always on. It's AI-powered teammate that works across every department, channel, and system within your organization. So unlike a traditional bot that are limited to scripted flows or single use cases, the universal agent understands natural language, takes action autonomously, and continuously learns from your users. It's trained on enterprise data and leverages powerful LLMs to resolve issues end-to-end, whether it's resetting passwords or updating HR records or answering complex product questions. The result that your users and customers would see is one of a unified experience that feels human, acts intelligent, and drives real outcomes across the enterprise. This is really the future of work: automated, conversational, and deeply integrated. That's really all I had from a content perspective. Hate to go into too many slides, but if you're all ready, we'll show you around some use cases within the environment.
Let's do it.
All right. So I'm connected to one of these universal agents, and it's across two domains, IT and HR, and it's what we call an employee experience virtual agent, where it's meant to self-serve for employees. And having that domain experience means that it's grounded in client data. It's not going to hallucinate, and it's going to stay on task with the different fulfillments that you've implemented in your environment. So if we look at automating application access, let's say that a user might want to install a Salesforce license via Okta. Right, that might take a couple of tickets or interactions with your IT team to procure the license and have somebody push it from a different system and then validate that that happened successfully. Maybe it has to be done again if it wasn't successfully. But essentially, what we want to do through the Aisera platform is simplify provisioning and reduce IT workload. So if I go into my MS Teams interface that's hooked into my universal virtual agent, I can say something like to get access to Salesforce. Can you assist with that, right? So we're going to ask it the question, and then we're going to initiate a workflow that's intelligent, right? So depending on my level of access within the organization, my profile is just as important. I could bypass all the checks and balances and just have this procured for me. If I'm more in a line of business type of role and I need to, check to make sure the license is available or go through a manager, we can do that too. So we can reach out to management and validate that the user has access to it. So this is my Okta applications that are assigned to me today. I've got Bamboo, Slack, Adobe, Development SPA, Jira, and Workday. And if I go in and submit my request, it's going to analyze the request. And so the ontologies within the environment recognize things like access and Salesforce and assistance. So it knows that I need help. And it asks me if what I'm trying to do is to provision the application. And so it notices that, unfortunately, John, I'm not as high level as I thought I was. I am going to have to get my manager to approve the request. So, do I want to continue? Do I want to leave it? Yeah, sure. Let's go ahead. So we're going to send it over. And what that's going to do is contact my manager through whatever channel, is appropriate, right? Proactively reaching out through email or an application or web chat or Teams and getting him to, approve that request instead of having to wait for the process to go forward. So by the magic of automation, I just went on the other screen there and acted as Rod and approved the request. And so then I get instantaneous results back. The virtual agent installs Salesforce. So we can go over here and we'll do a quick refresh. We can see Salesforce has been installed in my application list. That's great. It verifies that. It gives me the link to go to Okta if I wanted to go directly there, and can even open up a ticket on behalf of the user. Why would you do that, right? We're trying to deflect tickets. We find a lot of times that IT still wants that audit trail. And you'll see later in the demo that we have that auditability too, where we can produce that telemetry and provide it. But if you still want to track that, and that's usually an early phase type of use case, we can proactively in parallel resolve the user's request, open the ticket, and then set the status to closed or review so that a human can go in and validate that that use case was successfully done.
Mark, we have a
Right.
quick question here, if you don't
Sure.
mind pivoting. So Andrew Condos has a question about Copilot, and is it unique to our platform or does it leverage the Microsoft Azure stack?
That's a great question. I get that all the time. Is that it's unfortunate that acronyms like GPT and Copilot have become such a part of the lexicon and the marketing of these different solution sets that we use them too. On the back end, what we do is we connect to any LLM that you want to, public facing, or we have our own private facing LLM. So we don't use the interfaces like ChatGPT and Microsoft Copilot. We integrate with the underlying LLMs or your personal LLMs through an LLM gateway to enable a broad amount of knowledge to be able to be enveloped around your enterprise through those 500 different integrations so that you can develop the use cases and fulfillments that you want in your environment. Great question.
Thank you.
So now, I finished this, and I mean, it feels like a lot of times just getting the software installed is a Herculean effort. I'm ready for some vacation, right? I mean, we're midway through the week, so I can just go to the virtual agent and say, I'm thinking about taking some vacation soon. Can you help me check my PTO balance or start a vacation request? So, it recognizes again that I need help. I'm always needing help, and it recognizes, PTO is paid time off or vacation, and that's part of that HR ontology. But you're going to see that it seamlessly switched from an IT virtual agent now to a human resources virtual agent. It's really amazing what we can do with this technology, not only in terms of taking, responsive actions, but also in the way of really developing the bot's personality. Because HR and IT are very different domains, right? I've worked in IT most of my career, so getting things done quickly and checking things off the box quickly is kind of part of the job. HR, a little more conversational. Might want to figure some stuff out. It might be time to enroll in benefits or update benefits, or maybe you're thinking about 401k and what you want to get invested in, things like that. So you can really build up the virtual agent's personality to help with those tasks and be very proactive to follow up on the things that the users have asked for previously. So my request here, it returns my time off balance. I have a balance of, looks like 55 hours. I've used none this year, and it's asking if I want to submit a request. Part of that experience is it can be completely conversational. Like you saw earlier with the Salesforce request, we can mix in buttons and slides and pictures if it's something that you're trying to get across. Like a lot of time in customer experience, if we're trying to help somebody out, especially like with a product or something like that, you want to be able to bring up pictures and diagrams and things like that to get visuals to what the virtual agent is doing. And so we can do all of that. So I say, yep, let's go ahead and submit a PTO request. And it's going to action through the APIs of our Workday instance and collect the information that it needs. It wants to know what type of vacation I want to take off, whether it's a PTO, doctor's appointment, or something else. It's going to ask me, when do I want to go on leave? We'll say Friday. We'll give Aisera a couple more days because there might be some work going on, right? So Friday seems soon enough. And then when do you want to go on leave, or when do you want to return from leave rather? And I can say, well, let's do it from then to, we'll go into June, and we'll just take the whole week off. Why not? So perfect. So it'll proactively go out and calculate. So, if I didn't have enough time, right? If I hadn't saved up enough, it'll come back and say, I'm sorry, I think you might need to, reconsider your end date there because you just don't have enough time. But it'll calculate that off and then bring back the balance and let me know. And then I can just decide, whether I want to save this as a draft, maybe come back to it later, and then it can proactively follow up. Hey, I noticed you were, thinking about vacation. Do you want to reconsider that? Or just go ahead and submit it. Seems appropriate that with the audience here, everybody's just witness and they can see that I won't be around for a week. So all the time you see it's coming back and kind of proactively giving these little pings. Did I help resolve your request? That helps with the sentiment analysis, right? So it's looking at my language, but it's also looking at I'm helpful. And we've added a lot to this in our latest release where it will, gather feedback in descriptive textual form, and the LLM will go across that in order to see if you're having a good experience or not.
Well, we had a quick question, right?
Yep.
First I'll do the first one. I know Joanna already did reply. Can you use the mic speaker to have an audio conversation, or is this just typing?
Great question. You can use the microphone, right? So we're a voice to we leverage text, right? We need text in order to have the context to be able to analyze it and assess it. But there's many different ways that we can do that. And so because we're an integration platform, you can plug into multiple options for voice that we can get translated into text. We've worked with prospects, for example, to take like Gong transcripts and things like that and be able to analyze that and provide that as enrichment into some analysis. But yes, we can provide that type of functionality.
I had a customer ask the same question the other day, and they said, and Claudia asked, outside of MS Teams, where can this run? Simultaneously, another question that I got from a customer said, I'm trying to maximize my team's time, and they reside in Slack, for instance. How do I stop them from swivel chairing and going to another application? So hopefully you can answer that with one question or one answer.
Yeah, that's a great question, right? Because that's kind of a productivity thing and an accessibility thing. From the productivity scale, if I've got to stop what I'm doing and go to this special web page, and access it and do things, right? Even though it might be, seconds or minutes, it is a detour from what I normally do. And from an accessibility, standpoint is, what if it's on a web page, right? But you're on your phone or something like that, and there's no app or you can't access it. And so from an adoption standpoint, accessibility is, crucial. We consider we approach it from an omni-channel type of stance, is that we call it meeting the users where they are. So we do both traditional and contemporary channels. On the contemporary side, web chat, Teams, Slack, you name it. Where you can go in and converse with the virtual agent just like you would with your peer. And like you saw here, right, a multi-domain experience. And then on the traditional side, we support text and voice and email, so that if those traditional channels still exist, if people are still trying to reach IT, for example, to get something helped, we can intercept those tickets before they become tickets, if you will, and then help the user and try to deflect from the ticket even getting open in the first place. So that increases productivity, makes it more accessible. That's going to increase adoption. And then also you can leverage that kind of omni-channel approach to start guiding how you want your enterprise to interface with your Gen AI. You can cut back on channels over time to focus, if you want to, on where you want that interaction to take place. Great questions. So now that we've seen, a couple of front end examples, we're going to go into the back end, and this is one of my favorite portions. I've spent a quarter of my lifetime, hopefully, right? So about 20 some odd years in IT data management systems, and governance is really important, and especially in the age of Gen AI. If we're talking about responsible Gen AI, you want to have good governance, and you want to be able to understand not only kind of the audit trails of how people are interacting with it from a security standpoint, but also from a model performance standpoint, a user expectation standpoint, being able to go out and procure new use cases from your users is very important. So we have both pre-built and custom analytics that come with the platform. And so I like to say there's a lot to love here. There's a lot of really good information and visualizations to help guide the maintenance and the development and the understanding, really, of what the Gen AI solution is doing in your environment. So what you see here is that we have a virtual agent, and for the last 3 months, it's received about 2,000 different requests. It tells you how many were resolved, how many are not helpful, how many were abandoned, how many were escalated, how many had an assistance rate, and how many had what was their average first resolution time. This is one on our live agent side. If I switch over to show you more of an internal type use case, you can see that's really what you would expect from like a self-service bot, right? The numbers kind of flip at that point. No longer are we helping live agents, but we're trying to deflect those tickets. So we get 92% total resolved requests, how many were not helpful, abandoned, how many were assisted through creation of a ticket or escalated to a live agent. We get some different visualizations here, resolution rate over time. This is an SE system, so we're always trying to break stuff, right? But you kind of expect that nice curve going up of just increasing in resolutions. Average first time over time, you want to see that go down so that you're having quicker interactions, things are getting resolved quicker. Maybe we're converting AI to human workflows, to just AI automation workflows where it can validate users' roles and find ways in order to, like our request earlier, for access provision software faster. Low escalation rates, information on request over time. Green is good, red is bad. And then categorizing those requests so that you can see where your requests are coming through, both the ones that were resolved and unresolved. So we've got different requests coming here from computers, software applications. We saw that earlier. Employee benefits, employee management. Those were my PTO requests, security, and specific system requests. On knowledge, you can track the knowledge that the virtual agent has. We do both knowledge serving as well as automation. So the virtual agent's access to your systems of record will give you ideas around how much are your knowledge articles really utilized. There's some out there that they're old and dated and need to be cleaned up, or maybe they just need to be updated. We have knowledge generation that can go through your ticket systems and validate where old knowledge articles exist. There's gaps in information, or maybe if we go down the scale here, just articles that aren't used anymore that can potentially be retired from service. And then finally, application performance. So the virtual agents work around, the intents or the goals that you have in your system. What things are you trying to resolve? Like earlier we resolved an application request and PTO time, and how many total entities that you have. So within your ontology and the utterances that your users are having as the lexicon grows, and there's different, maybe special use cases and synonyms that relate to systems in your organization. How is that being tracked and handled so that you know that those use cases are being understood by the virtual agent and ultimately, fulfilled? And so we get some visualizations around that too. The top used intents. This particular virtual agent does a lot with supply chain use cases, software applications, and computer troubleshooting. And the top entities that come through are things around purchase orders, shipments, and Salesforce, for example. So lots of good data here in order to really help drive the organization from development to extension of use cases and just really getting good ROI on your investment into Gen AI.
Thank you, Clark. We have some questions coming in. One question is, are you using the Copilot Studio agent on the back end, then connecting it to Okta Workday API to assign Salesforce licenses and do the PTO example that you showed, or is it a different platform?
Great questions. No, we connect directly to those client APIs. So we have of those 500 integrations, generally most of them are APIs of those systems that we connect to. We can go through service catalog. So if it's more, from an infrastructure standpoint, they want us to be able to open it through the service catalog and follow those request methods to do it, we can do that. But generally, we see a lot of prospects kind of moving into that connected to your systems. And then from a future proofing standpoint, what if you move away from those authentication systems? What if you've changed from Okta to Intra or to something else? We help future proof that, because from our standpoint, it's just taking those actions, right? Reads and writes and executions. And we can take the IP that you've already developed from having those defined use cases, those intents and workflows, and just integrate them with the new technologies as you change over time.
Awesome. Thank you. Let us know if you have any follow-up questions to that. Otherwise, we'll jump to another question that Andrew has. Can you discuss how you handle documents for the knowledge base? Do you have your own RAG environment, or can you link to external environments?
Great question again. Yeah, because we see a lot of people have a lot of environments. Like I came from the data warehousing era, where everybody has a single instance, and my jam was Oracle. I did Oracle data warehousing for decades, and that's changed, right? That's changed a lot. There's a lot of different data systems out there. Similarly, there's a lot of different systems of record, and even these different system management tools, these ITSMs and CRMs, right, have their own knowledge stores as well. And proprietarily for their Gen AI offerings, they would like to own all of your data, because it makes it simpler when you go into those tools and be able to access your incidents and requests as well as your knowledge systems. We, just like with the question earlier on Okta, we integrate with everything. So we kind of enable that walk. I have several prospects that wanted to move away from knowledge store on their ITSMs to something like Confluence, and we can do that. So we can provide those integrations into it, and our RAG model goes across those integrations and learns from those different articles that are out there. We don't store them. We're not an ITSM. We're just a middle tier component that connects to those different systems. So we stream the intelligence through. We gain the insights and the indexing for the Gen AI virtual agent, and then it relies on that in order to real-time respond to those questions. And then it'll provide those footnotes to say, hey, I got this information from Confluence or Office 365 or SharePoint, or wherever the articles reside.
Next thing is Q&A. So Clark, want to make sure that you had the last comments right before as the questions start coming in.
All right, Claudia is asking, how long do integrations typically take?
So we can move as fast as the organization. This is true of like any software I've worked with, and like I said, I've spent several years in integrations and data management software, and it usually comes down to infrastructure and security. So on the customer side, we need customer to be able to provide those service accounts with the actions that you want the AI to take. Whether it's just read access or whether you do want it to do, some form of execution like creating tickets or updating tickets and things like that. So we adhere to your security and infrastructure team's policies. And generally with those service accounts, that gives us what we need, because what we're going to do is your users have RBAC authorization into our system, and we're going to impersonate through those service accounts to your system. So like I mentioned earlier, the profile is just as important as anything else. And you saw that I didn't have the necessary leverage or clout in my organization, if you will, to be able to bypass my manager to get, the software that I wanted. So it read my profile and knew that I didn't have, that type of authorization, and that's what it's going to stick to when it goes through it. Somebody else logs in, like John. John's higher up than me, and John goes in and asks for Salesforce, and they throw in Snowflake as well, right? That's because of John's profile and authorization is going to be higher than mine.
Can you tell me about the onboarding process?
Absolutely, Claudia. Are you asking about the onboarding from like an HR use case standpoint, or the onboarding of like prospect to customer? Prospective customer. Okay, great question. We try to make it as simple as possible. One of the things I like about Aisera is that we're just big enough. We're just big enough to be able to provide a solution like this, but not so big that we're bureaucratic and we've got layers and layers of process to get through. What we do from a pre-sales standpoint, that's where I work, is that we work with you to understand whether these use cases are something that can leverage the platform, because there's a lot that we can do here. So we want to make sure you're going to get value out of the platform. Otherwise, we'll say, well, you might want to look at these types of things. So once we, find the value and explain the value through an assessment, then the process is just to put together an understanding of how do you want to deploy, because with these enterprise domain packs, these ontologies, intents, and workflows, you get quick value from us because a lot of what you saw like here is already predefined. It just has to be hooked into a system and have a fulfillment defined. For example, for password reset, do you want us to pull a knowledge article and give somebody steps to reset their password, or do you want us to hook into Okta and just go ahead and reset the password, that way? There's a lot of different ways we can do it, and we want to work with you in the way that you want to have that done in your environment. So we work from a phased approach to understand in like phase one, what are we integrating with? What types of actions and automations do you want to take? Where your knowledge articles reside and things like that. We put that together. Our team works with you to put them together, functionally test them. And then I like to call this experience testing, right? Do you like the way that the virtual agent is responding? It says hi, but would you rather it say hello? Do you want it to be friendly, or do you want it to be curt, depending on how quickly you want it to be done? We basically give kind of a white glove treatment to get it the way that you want it to. And then over the next, depending on company and how you move, quarters, couple of months, maybe a year, you use this these visualizations I saw earlier to gain trust and understanding of what the virtual agent is doing. And then that's when usually the new use cases start coming out, and we can work with you on expansions too. We can move as quickly as you want us to move, Claudia, to be able to get this solution into your environment. Do you have multi-language support for user interface? Love the traceability report. Thank you. Yeah, Scott, that's a great question, right? And this has come a long way with LLMs. I compare this back to like older technology. I'm going to date myself a little bit. We used to have to screen scrape PDFs in, and I'm just kind of translating that language. And similarly, getting language in there too was, kind of difficult in the early days of technologies. And now a lot of that's done by the LLM. So yes, we do support a multi-language model, and that largely comes in from the LLMs themselves. That as the user starts off that conversation, it picks up on it, and sticks to that user's conversation. We can do multi-language support in terms of like We've done use cases where, let's say, the support team on the CRM system are in a different country. They're getting these requests in English, but we can translate them into the ticket so that it's in their language, and then they can respond in their language, and it comes back to the user in English. So there's a lot of ways, yes, that we can support multi-language in the platform. Very common.
Appreciate you all joining us today. Again, my name is Jonathan Gill. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Clark, thanks for joining us. Joanna, thanks for the support.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks, folks, for joining.
Good job.
Bye.